getting content getting content out there is basically the only thing I'm good at, and so it feels that way sometimes. And so I'm trying to get content out there and share with people. But getting it out there, the mechanisms to get it out there is sometimes challenging. Facebook Live makes that really awesome and really easy. But what I wanted to do is I get so many questions about being relevant. And I gave I gave a talk I actually gave the talk 4 different times to a group of professionals last week, I think, about being relevant and how do you stay relevant among the world of disruptive innovation. So I want to share that idea with you is this staying relevant. Now, first thing I want to, and I just got 4 kind of key points here that I have found that really helps stay relevant. But let me give you a backstory a little bit. When I used to work for Bell South, which is now AT&T, and for a time, I went to work with a group that's called Science and Technology. And we were messing around with the bleeding edge stuff. I mean, we were the cool kids, right? We had the coolest technology. We were the innovators doing stuff. And because it was an entrepreneurial activity, people worked all hours. It was just that fun that you expect in an entrepreneurial activity, except, we had billions of dollars backing us up, which was even more fun. But we could buy whatever we needed. And we were, when you're doing the cool stuff in a company and you're the innovators and you're doing the bleeding edge stuff where the market is, everybody likes it, everybody loves you, everybody pays attention to you. And it was just really cool thing to be part of. If you haven't been part of something like that, especially in a larger company, that's something to try, is getting involved in the innovation getting involved with the innovation team. But we were the cool kids and then suddenly we weren't. And suddenly one day, and it lasted 3 years. 3 years. We went from being the cool kids to being the redheaded stepchildren in technology in our company because there was a new technology. There was a new thing. And so there were some people on our team that had moved over to this new toy thing. They were messing around with another technology. And we were kind of like, that's cool over there. But what happened is as they were messing around with this other technology, that other technology took off. We became the backseat. And then suddenly, we're not relevant. We're in the mode of maintenance, maintaining things, and just the stuff that just gets to where it's not fun, especially when you were on the bleeding edge. It just happened overnight. And what happened to me at that point is I started to wonder, how did that happen? How was it that me and other people around me did not catch it, did not see that was going on, so that we were aware that we were about to be yesterday's news? So part of it is just that. And that's what I want to share. The number one thing you need to be right now is aware. I don't care who you are. I don't care who you work for. I don't care how brilliant you are. I don't care the size of your company. I don't care how much money is coming in. Be aware that what you are doing today is going away. Your career, your job, your function is going away. That's just all there is to it. I think logically we kind of know that, but it hurts to hear it, right? So, but if you look in the mirror and realize it is going away. Now, one of the things in my awareness when I realized that was happening, I realized there was a sense of arrogance there was to our team. There was a sense of arrogance, thinking we were the cool kids. I still hear that now. I have been on many conversations with people, and I tell them, hey, what your company is doing, what your function is doing, what your job is doing, what your department is doing, it's going away. And they will tell me, no, what we're doing, this will last for a long time. And I'm not sure if that's denial, it's ignorance, or it's arrogance, or it's all of the above. I don't know. Maybe they're right. Maybe it will last a long time. Maybe it will last 50, 60 years, maybe gone tomorrow. But I'm going to bet it's more likely to be gone tomorrow. Your job is more likely to be gone tomorrow than it is to just be here in 10 years. Your career, your function, everything you're doing. You need to be aware that it's going away, that your job is going away. Here's how I really understood it. After I left that job at Bell South and I came to the university, I had one of the executives from, at that time, AT&T come in, a guy that was way up the food chain, internationally known for his expertise in the technology. Bill came in and he spoke to our group, and he stood there, and one of the first things he said was, he said, every day and when I wake up, I look in the mirror and I wonder if today I'm going to be found out. And I thought that was a weird thing to say. And then he went on to say, because I'm constantly trying to stay relevant. Now, when I hear a guy at the top of the food chain in his technical little area, I mean, I'm talking about internationally known, say that kind of took me back. But right after he spoke, a friend of mine who is an entrepreneur who has sold multiple companies, who has taken companies public, he spoke. And when he came up and spoke, he said something like, every day I'm struggling to stay relevant. And I thought, what is it with these guys? And I asked both of them kind of as I was going out with them, and I said, what is it? And they said, we just have to be aware, that what we're doing today is not going to matter tomorrow. What we're doing today is not going to matter tomorrow. So in both of these techno giants, both of these guys that I considered technically very savvy, they're giants in their field, they had this humility. They knew what they were doing was going to be yesterday's news tomorrow. And I didn't when I was there. So there's that first thing is just being aware, staying humble. So when I talk to people, and so I had a meeting with somebody the other day, and he said, no, you don't understand. What I'm doing is cool, and we're the cool stuff. I'm thinking, well, you're in denial, or you're ignorant, or you're arrogant. I don't know. But either one of those isn't going to work for you when your paycheck is gone. So be aware it's going away. So that helps you. Just being aware helps you. The second thing that will really help you came from when I was asking some friends of mine in mastermind groups, and one of these guys just seemed to always be on the head. He always seemed to know what was going on. He said he always seemed to be ahead of the game. And so I told him one day, I said, tell me, how is it you always seem to know? And really, I don't care how you know. How do I know? Tell me how I can know what's coming and what to do next. And he said, stop. I thought, okay, well, that's great. What does that mean by stop? He said, you've got to stop. He says, the whole world is running at 900 miles an hour. We get up on Monday morning and we rush to the office so we can rush to a meeting, so we can rush to another meeting, so we can rush back and answer emails, and so we can rush to other meetings. And then we get home, we're still rushing to take kids to games and to do all this kind of stuff. And the weekend's no different, right? And probably your life sounds like that. So when I'm sitting there, when I'm talking to him, he's telling me, that's how your life is, Dale, right? And, well, yeah, there's some truth to that, but that's normal. He says, you got to stop. He says, you've got to stop and think. Now, when he said, I've got to stop and think, that kind of, I'm like, well, I think all the time, right? You think all the time. We all think all the time. Most of us have thinking careers, thinking jobs where we're constantly thinking about what we're doing. Well, no, not really. We're not really thinking. We're not really absorbing things. We are making trivial little thoughts, trivial decisions, sometimes big decisions, but we don't ever stop and think about just wherever our mind is going. Because what I found by doing his experiment is I found that he was right in the sense that I wasn't thinking, but when I did think, I already knew a lot of things. You do too. You know a lot that's happening all of the time. So one of the things that he told me to do is he said, Dale, go over to a coffee shop, get a pen and a piece of paper, a pad of paper, and just go to a coffee shop and just sit there and think. He said, put an hour on your calendar, 2 hours on your calendar just to think. So I went to Panera Bread one day. This is, and I really hadn't told people this, but I went to Panera Bread and I'm sitting there thinking, right? I'm sitting there with my pen and my pad and I'm sitting back And you're looking at a Panera Bread or a coffee shop, and everybody's working because that's their office. So I'm looking at everybody's working, and I'm sitting there like a goofball with a pen and a pad, and a cup of coffee, like I got nothing to do. And I was thinking everybody was watching me. But anyway, I just started thinking, and what's going on? And I remember I sat there and I just, and that was my buddy's point, is he said, just sit there and let your mind go and start writing down the obvious. I'm trying to get to a clean sheet of paper where I can show you what I drew because it was significant to me. I drew something like this, and I thought, well, I work at a university, and this is what happens is over time, the costs go up, tuitions rise. Right, we know that. Over time, costs go up. Well, that's true of everything. In tuition, we might think it's even exponential. It's probably not, but it goes up a lot. But I spend a lot of time talking to executives with companies, and they will tell me, Dale, what you are doing, and I don't mean me, but they mean the university, what the university is doing is adding very little value to us. And one executive told me, he says, Dale, what you guys do at the university, basically when we hire your people, we have to unprogram them for a while to get them into the system, to get them to do the things because because what you're doing is really not adding a lot of value. And so I told the guy, I was like, then why do you keep putting on your applications degree required? And he was like, well, we need a filter. We need some kind of filter. And as soon as we could kind of find a filter that works or some mechanism of accountability besides a college degree, then we really don't need you. Now, I hear that in all kinds of different words said in different ways. And so what I look at that is when I was just thinking about that in Panera Bread that day. So I thought, well, what happens there is as the cost is going up on one side, the value is going down on another side. Now, I don't have to be a genius to realize when these two cross, and maybe they already have crossed, I don't know, but when these two cross, when the value provided is less than the cost, you start to be extinct in the business, or you have a real business crisis. I realize this is what's going on inside university systems. The costs are going up. The value is perceived by corporations and by parents is going down. It's not my opinion. It's everybody's. We see this all the time. Most of us are perfectly aware of this. So I went to people at the university. So here I am. I'm in the thinking time, right? And I'm processing this. I'm just thinking about this, thinking, well, okay, what's going on here? This is stuff I already know. So in your thinking time, you will be processing stuff you too already know. But you don't think about the consequences of it. You may think about it, but you don't get deep into it. So I really kind of processed this and started looking at alternatives and things. And I tried to present this back to people at the university I work with, other faculty and administrators, and I found they knew all this, but they hadn't stopped to think about the real consequences of it. And here's why. Who do you hang out with? And this is why thinking time is so incredibly important. You hang out with people who are just like you. You hang out with, so at the universities, all these university administrators hang out with other university administrators. So you begin to believe your own lies. Right? And I don't care what your business is. I'm not picking on them. You in your business, you begin to believe your own lies. We all begin to believe our own lies. And where we're surrounded to people telling the same lies, it builds upon itself. And we think it's okay. That's how you become insignificant, because you're believing the lies that you and other people are telling yourself. So you've got to stop and you've got to think. So for me, for what my friend John told me, he says, take on your calendar, go to your calendar, put a time on your calendar, make it, he recommended Friday, so I do Friday. Friday morning, I got a 2-hour chunk in my calendar just to think. Now, sometimes I spend, 15 minutes of that, sometimes more, but it's one of those kind of eye-opening things where you get to process all that data that you have, because you do. You know a lot. You have data coming in at you. So put it on a calendar, paper and pen, go somewhere quiet. If you have to go to a conference room, and hold the phone to your head to make it look like you're busy or something, whatever, just to get away. I know one guy, he does this in his car. He goes and sits out in his car, and tries to just to process things, just to get away and think. You don't have to go under the top of a mountaintop to do this. So be aware and just create some time to get away and stop and think. The other thing that happens, the third thing I want to do is get out and connect, learn from other people. This is I remember when I was involved in a venture capital deal, and one of the guys that was one of the venture capitalists was our CEO. I was operating as the chief operating officer, and we went to meetings constantly. I mean, that's all we did was meet, and we oftentimes were going into meetings with other CEOs, vendors, partners. Sometimes we didn't even know why we were there, but we didn't know a lot about the people we were meeting, and usually it was the owners of the companies, or the CEOs of the companies. But I watched this guy. He would sit there, and we got a lot done very quickly. We'd get to know the people because he would sit there and just start asking them questions. He would say, "Hey, man, tell me your story." And the guy would talk a little bit, "Hey, and then he would say, "Hey, what do you love? What do you hate about that? What are you doing?" And then he would say something like, "What keeps you awake at night?" The words were different, but those three key questions: tell me your story, what are you loving, what do you hate, and what keeps you awake at night? Those three questions. I learned from those questions as we engaged with people. I learned there was all kinds of companies out there. There's all kinds of ways to make money, things that I didn't understand. I still find today, I'm always shocked about how people are making money. There's so many ways to make money. We tend to be stuck, we have this tunnel vision. We think that if you work for a bank, the only way to make money is to move money from point A to point B over a data wire. If you work in telecom, you think moving data from point A to point B is how to make money. You get stuck in thinking there's no money being made out there except what I do. But no, there's money being made out there in all kinds of ways. And I run into this all the time, so I could give you tons of examples. I don't have time now, but I think most of you are aware. We hear about bloggers. Certainly some of you may know there's professional bloggers making a lot of money. There's YouTube people making a ton of money. We've run into a dirt specialist, guys who specialize in dirt. So it's not all about internet. People who just out there serving people making money, because you make money flow by serving somebody else's need. I don't care what it is. If you serve their need, you scratch their itch, whatever you want to call it, money will flow and you can make money. So getting out of your little bubble and talking to people. This works really, really great for introverts. As a matter of fact, I use this in my course, Networking for Introverts, because introverts don't like to network, right? So but have you ever been in those things where you're sitting at a big table, you're at a dinner or a luncheon, and you're sitting at a table and there's a guy or this gal next to you you don't know, and you got this awkward moment where you're supposed to be talking, but you don't really know them. If you're an extrovert and you talk to everybody, that's fine. But if you're not, you're just as soon just listen to the speaker and leave. So it's just great because I can turn to the person next to me and say, "Hey, man, tell me your story." I don't have to say anything else. They'll talk, "Hey, what do you love? What do you hate about that? What keeps you awake at night?" I'll ask these questions and I understand and I find more job opportunities. I don't need a job opportunity, but I find more job opportunities from talking to just asking three simple, stupid questions. By the way, many of these job opportunities are not even posted. Right? Because most people, if you talk to them, if they tell you what keeps them awake at night, they tell you their greatest pain, that's what they will take money out of their wallet for. Let me say that again. If they tell you their greatest pain, that's what they will pay for. So doing that is an awesome activity. So again, the three questions and by the way, you can do this standing in line in grocery stores. You can do this standing in line. When people start talking to you, just, "Hey, man, tell me your story. What do you love and what do you hate about what you do?" That's question number two. And question number three is what keeps you awake at night? And vary with them. You're not a robot. You can vary these questions and reword them in a way that makes sense. But the first two questions is to learn about what people are doing and how they got there, and they're speaking from the heart. Right now, because people like to talk about themselves, so they like you. So there's a whole lot packed into these first two questions. The third question is to drive at the market need that they're having. Where is their pain? A friend of mine asked questions like this, started a company, sold it for well over $30 million by serving the need that this person had said, which that person just happened to be the right person in terms of a CEO. But the more you ask these questions, the more comfortable you will be asking them to anybody, because you're always sitting next to people. You're always standing next to people that have opportunities for you to serve and to grow your income. But the main thing that I'm looking at right now is they have opportunities for you to get out of your bubble and realize there's stuff going on out there that you are not aware of. There's opportunities, and there's also threats. Now, threats and opportunities are two sides of the same coin, right? So a threat to your job and your career that is going away is that there's an opportunity on the other side. So again, number one is just being aware. Number two is having a thinking time. And number three is getting out and connecting. So number four, the fourth thing that's just really helped me to get out of my bubble and start thinking I understand everything, is reading. So look, there's this saying that leaders are readers. Leaders are readers. There's a sign when you're reading of humility that's looking for wisdom. Think about that. Why would an executive from a large company that's got tons of money rolling in the door, why would they read? Why would they read somebody else's words? They're looking for the wisdom. They're not necessarily saying the wisdom comes from that person, but I can read that person's words and there's something wisdom, there's some source of wisdom in there, or at least I'm looking for it, whether there is or not. So there's this humility. What I find in a lot of us is we have, again, arrogance. We don't think there's anything else to learn. Look, I run an executive graduate program. I'm dealing with professionals all the time, and you could just spot them in the door. One of the things we try to look for is this person willing to learn? We try to spot them. We don't want you if you're not willing to learn. And we get them in now, but there's always people who will say, well, yeah, there was nothing I really learned there. That kind of thing, that kind of attitude is what you don't want to have. What you want to say is there's always something to learn. There's something to learn from the bum on the street, that there's some wisdom there for you to collect. It's up to you to process it. But so what we want to do is we want to be reading and attentive to what's going on. So I use Goodreads, by the way. I go out there and do the reading challenge instead of reading a book a week. I scan books. I use a speed reading technique. Hey, if you're interested in that, shoot me an email. I'll be glad to show it to you. Jim is over here. James, I know you're hanging out, having a good time right now in Denver, but you're telling me that you felt the arrogance. Yeah, boy, haven't I too. So I appreciate that. At least I'm not alone. Jim and I have felt the arrogance before. Look, speed reading is awesome. It's not magic. It's things that really works, that you can process books and try to look for information. So if you're a reader, this is awesome. Keep it up. Continue reading. I have reading time on my calendar too, because again, if it's going to happen, that's how it usually happens. But if you're not a reader, or if you haven't been a reader, even if you are, I don't care. Check out the book Bold. This is Bold. It's from Peter Diamandis. This book is written from guys involved in the SpaceX team. And I've had a lot of really smart people read this book that I've given it to, that are really smart tech people. And they'll tell me, man, this book caught me a little off guard, because the technology and the things you're talking about and the speed at which things are happening, we're blind to. Even if we're in the world of tech, we're blind to, because we get so focused in on what we're doing. So again, let me just recap for you. Is number one, be aware your job is going away. Your career is dying on the vine right now. There's other opportunities out there, but if you just sit there, you're the mud sinking and you're going down in quicksand. So that awareness is key. Number two is just create some thinking time, process that awareness, process what you're seeing. Number 3 is getting out, connecting. You don't have to be a super networker. You can be intentional about it. Then number 4 is reading, just keeping pace with what's going on out there. So let me just throw this thought out to you. All of your money that comes into your wallet, that comes into your pocket, that comes into your bank account, every dime of it is because you have served somebody. That's the only reason you and I ever get paid anything and continue to get paid. We might get paid $1 tomorrow with faking it out, but we cannot continue to get paid without serving people. So money flows when you serve other people. But your customers, the people you are serving, they change. They change what they like. They change the technologies. They change even their desires of how the technology serves them. Think about the phone and the cell phone, how that's changed. The quality is not the same as it was as a landline, but people accept it. So their tastes change, what they demand change. Technology changes. We change. Your job is going away. Your career is going away. But when it goes away, there's something new that emerges and takes its place. That's where your greatest opportunities are, not just to survive, but to thrive and to grow, is in the new opportunities. You just need to be aware of them. So this is awesome. I just wanted to share this with you because I shared it 4 times over and over the other day at a conference. It's been a long time since I talked about disruptive innovation. It was a popular topic a while back. So I wanted to kind of recap it because when I spoke to the group, it seemed to really, really resonate with them that this was that awareness and a little bit of the comfort too, I think, in realizing, well, there is a path out. There's a path to survive. So thanks so much for joining me. Thanks for checking this out. If you're looking for any of the resources that I'm talking about, the speed reading, how do you do this networking, some books, shoot me an email. Be glad to do it. Post on Facebook, of course. Be glad to shoot it to you. Thanks. Have a great night.